Hi Leo, welcome to Stardust Astrology. This is your monthly forecast for November 2016, and this is going to apply if you have your Ascendant, Sun or Moon in Leo. It can also apply if your Aruda Lagna is in Leo. In that case, it will describe more what the world around you perceives about you this month. And this can also apply if your Atma Karaka is in Leo, in which case you are going to feel this very personally. I'm using Vedic Sidereal positions, which means that we are currently in the month of Libra, not Scorpio. Scorpio would be for those Western astrology lovers. And if we take a look at your chart for the month of November, the first thing we can see is this Rahu and Ketu axis, which is affecting your first and your seventh house at the moment. This is a long-term influence, and I'm going to cover it in a second. And the second thing that you can notice is that all planets are direct and that all of them are placed on the left side of this Rahu-Ketu axis, leaving the upper part of your chart completely empty. This means that there is a huge emphasis on your private life and your personal stuff during this month, and that the public areas of your life and that the areas which are more visible and have to do with other people will be a bit neglected during this time. So this kind of situation creates a certain imbalance, and this is happening for all of us. It just depends which areas of our lives are affected by this imbalance at the moment. Now, imbalances are great, actually, because whenever we need to create something new, whenever things need to be changed, there has to be imbalance, right? If we have the perfect balance means nothing moves. Everything is stable and still, just the way it is. And this is not a very natural state of things. Nature does not support such perfect balance, and actually imbalance is our natural state. So this is now the time to focus on the private areas of your life. I would first like to talk a bit about this Rahu in your first house, because this is the long-term influence. Rahu started transiting your first house at the end of January 2016, and it is going to be there until the middle of August 2017. So you have 1 year and a half to deal with its energies, and at the same time, Ketu is always directly opposite to Rahu, which means during the same time period, Ketu is transiting your seventh house. Now, many people fear these transits, and both of these planets are doomed by, I don't know, many astrologers and many people with negative experiences as destructive planets. But I really like to demystify astrology and just tell you guys in a very simple language what all of this is about. Rahu and Ketu are actually the same energy. Those of you who know anything about the main energetic points in a human body know that we have 6 main chakras which are located in our body and which actually hold us here on planet Earth, right? Channeling the energy through our body. And Rahu and Ketu are your 7th chakra, to put it simply. This is located a bit above your head, not in your head. And this is the direct source through which we can connect to that huge universal energy, which means that they are able to bring brilliant ideas. They are the planets of extreme creativity. They are the planets who push not only evolution, revolution. They are there to revolutionize things. If you have ever heard some of the people who are geniuses in their fields, who are, I don't know, wonder people, who do things that are so out of norm, who are extremely talented, you can notice that what most of them say is, I'm not doing it. I just feel like this is somehow happening through me, and it feels like, I'm just channeling some energy. Ideas come to me during sleep. Ideas come to me all of a sudden in the bathroom. It is not that I have to think about it. It just comes to me. That's the energy of Rahu and Ketu, especially Rahu, who is the planet with the potential to materialize all those brilliant ideas if you understand what they want from you and if you can use them constructively. Now, the Rahu and Ketu bring eclipses. They eclipse the sun and the moon, and the eclipse that we had at the beginning of 2016 was in your 7th house on the south node, which means that we had 6-month time frame to focus on the matters of the 7th house, right? And 7th house has to do with our partners, be it our marriage partners or people in long-term committed relationships, or our business partners, and generally anyone that is equal to us, with whom we have one-on-one serious relationships, where there is mutual desire, where we need to, let's say, bargain, negotiate. This is the axis actually where we are trying to establish some kind of balance throughout all of our lives. But when Ketu comes there, it tends to bring the situations where you discover that you can't rely on those people. You can't rely on your business partners. You can't rely on your spouse. You meet new boyfriends, girlfriends who are usually with K2 people who want you to save them in a way. Either they need money, or they want you to get them a job, or they are trying to get away from an abusive household. This is what happens with this kind of energy. Now, of course, if you don't know that you're going through this transit, you can get entangled in these kinds of relationships and end up very drained. If you notice that this is the thing, it is time to stop, because Ketu is a distraction, and the time for you now is to focus on yourself. The whole point of this transit is for you to understand that you can stand on your 2 feet on your own, do things on your own, and not only do like any stupid kind of thing on your own. You can do brilliant things on your own if you are not losing your precious energy by being distracted trying to save people who are stuck in the role of a victim and who actually do not want to be saved because they're at the moment going through their own life lessons. So if you don't want to get entangled in such relationships, just focus on yourself. That was very difficult during the first half of the year, but starting from the September, we had an eclipse on Rahu in your 1st house, which is pointing to you guys at the moment, and your personal growth and development is very, very supported during this time period. It's a long time period, starting from September, and the next 6 months, focus on yourself. Now, if you understand the energy that Rahu is bringing to your life, and if you are open to channeling all those great ideas, You will understand that the status quo is now either unwanted, to put it the least, or not possible. It is not possible to maintain the status quo when you have Rahu in your first house. People who are born with this know this very well. This is time for you guys to shine now. Be a genius. Take your brilliant ideas, put them into practice. On the other hand, you will still have this K2, which means that other people may not support what you're doing now. They might tell you that you're weird with this Rahu transiting your first house, because your ideas will be something that is out of norm. Now, it doesn't have to be anything too crazy, you know. If, let's say, all of your friends are starting families at this point in their lives, and you feel like you want to travel, go travel. They will probably tell you that you're weird. If all of them are working in some, let's say, long-term jobs and are just happy with going to work every day, you know, getting up at 7 o'clock, getting dressed, going there, getting their paycheck at the end of the month, taking care of their families, working, cooking, sleeping, and you on the other hand could be thinking about making a great invention for the humanity, or revolutionizing your industry. They will tell you that you're weird. They will tell you that your ideas are not possible, that you are being irrational, illogical, that you are living in the la la land. You know, there will be no support unless you really have a great placements in your natal charts, which show that there will always be support. But with this kind of transit, there will be no support from other people, because you need to explore yourself. You need to be open to all great ideas that come to you, and you need to understand that your potential is huge, that you can do something great. Okay? Yes, that's what I wanted to say about Rahu and Ketu mostly. And this month is especially going to be activating Rahu in your first house, because we are having a new moon in Libra, which is in your third house. But apart from being in the sign of Libra, this new moon is also in Swati Nakshatra, and Swati Nakshatra is ruled by Rahu. So it is going to affect you guys directly, okay? Now let's start with these transits orderly. Sun, who rules you, rules your first house, if it's Ascendant, or it's... if your sun is in Leo, this is also a very strong placement. This prediction is going to apply to you. If your moon is in Leo as well, or any other placements that we talked about at the beginning, sun rules you guys, and it is very important to monitor where the sun is transiting during the year. At this moment, the sun is in Libra, and it entered Libra on the 17th of October. Now, Sun in Libra can be a tricky placement, because it brings about situations where you have to deal with people who you may perceive to be somehow lower than you, but they will not perceive you as someone higher than them. They will perceive you as an equal and treat you that way. So you can feel disrespected. It can be, for example, it can happen with your subordinates. You treat them as a subordinate, you delegate, you tell them do this, do that, but then they will come back with some comments and I don't know, some let's say that they can say they can just give it back to you equally, right? As if you guys were equal and you are not in the positions of equality. Or it can happen in some everyday situations, like for example, you go to a restaurant and you expect to be served, there, and then the waiter is treating you as if you guys were colleagues. And Leo doesn't like that. Leo people are very dignified people, and they like to be treated with respect. With Sun in Libra, this can hurt your ego. This is one of the reasons, and the other reason is when the Sun, which is you, goes to Libra, you will feel the need to maintain balance in the relationships. You will need to have those interactions with other people balanced, but at the same time you will want to take the central stage in them, and the other people will not respond very well to that. So this is the influence that we have happening in the second half of October. But then on the 30th of October we have a new moon in Libra, and the new moon is starting the new lunar cycle, which is the next 28 days, which is actually the whole of November. Now, lunar cycles are important because without them it is not possible to create anything new. Lunar cycles happen when Sun and Moon come together. Sun, as an energy, influences our masculine energies, what we are able to project out in the world, and Moon as an energy symbolizes our feminine energies, which is how we feel internally. When those two guys come together, well, what happens? What you feel inside of you, it becomes able to project that out in the world. And this is happening every 28 to 29 days in a different house of each and every one of our charts. Both masculine and feminine energies are necessary to create a new life, and during this month you have a possibility to create something new in the third house. Now, in the third house, this is the place where we perform our self-willed actions, where we chase our interests, where we show our curiosity, where we are courageous to go after what we want. It rules over our younger brothers and sisters, our co-workers, teammates, people who are in a way equal to us and with whom we might check our strengths, like the guys do in school and even when they grow up. It's that kind of environment. It also rules all kinds of places where we go to have fun while we are going after something that we enjoy only for ourselves, regardless of what anyone else thinks about that. So bear that in mind, because with Sun in Libra, you could feel a bit insecure, but on the other hand, Sun is a good placement in the third house. So this is the time to go after something that you enjoy for yourself, regardless of what anyone else thinks about it. Rahu in the first house is going to support this hugely. Okay? Now, third house also rules places like, I don't know, casinos, bars, any loud place where we go to have fun and, spend some time with our friends. It can also rule any place where you learn something new, like a classroom or going to workshop. Similarly to that, it rules computers, video games, electronic gadgets, your website, your Facebook profile, your Instagram, your Twitter page. You see, there are a lot of a lot of things covered in the third house because we have a lot of personal desires and interests, and they all belong to one house. For people who are in sales and marketing and PR, this is a very important house. So if you are one of them, this new moon is going to affect you big way. It also shows our communication skills. It in this house you need to gain that courage to act and to think independently. Now remember what I told you about the Rahu in the first house? Independently is a huge word here. You have to have initiative, and the third house is the house of our entrepreneurial nature. Rahu is the planet of entrepreneurs, especially people who come up with some new inventions and new ideas. Some people might say that you are egoistic while pursuing things related to a third house. And really, this is an egoistic house, but we do not want to demonize our ego here, okay? We do not demonize ego because a healthy ego is the most precious thing that you can have while you're living in a three-dimensional reality. Third house also rules athletics, any sports that you may be into, any short trips that you may want to have, any kind of talents that you are developing, not in the sense of talents that you were born with, but more of something that is a skill and you are developing it as a skill. So when the sun moves into the third, we become focused on all of these things. Wherever the sun goes, that's where our focus is. And for Leo people, focus is one of the most important things in their life, and the sun rules you. So it is, as I said, very important thing for you guys to watch where the sun transits are. When it is in the third house, we are focused on our personal interest. Our willpower is strong. We are in the mood to play some sports, to do a little bit of competition. It can bring a lot of ego, but be careful, because with Sun in Libra, the ego can get hurt if it's not a very healthy ego. This house can also bring conflicts with authority. That's also, it can be the case, especially with the Rahu in the first house. Rahu in the first house does not tolerate any kind of authority, but it is a great time for education, especially for the things that you choose to learn on your own, not what they tell you you have to learn at school or university or in your job, something that you choose to learn, and all of those skills that you developed also fall in the third house. Now, when we have a new moon there, it means that there will be new beginnings in at least one of those areas that I mentioned previously. One of the things that can be tricky here with the new moon is that since moon rules your emotional mind, and during the new moon it blocks the sun, it blocks your consciousness. Leo people are normally very conscious people. It blocks your consciousness, so the emotional mind can be very too much stimulated and restless, and there could be too many new interests, too many interactions with friends. It's like you don't know where to go, which side to turn to, and not only the third house, there are other factors which support this as well. If you look at this new moon, the little green guy that is there with the new moon is Mercury, and Mercury is the restless planet and is the planet which naturally comes into the third house. In your case, guys, Mercury rules your second house and your 11th house, which are both money houses. Now, what can happen when the planet which rules money houses conjuncts the new moon in the third house? Well, we can have a new entrepreneur. We can have a new sales project. We can have any kind of new project which involves communication skills. This is a great time for you guys who are in public relations, who are in marketing industry, because your communication is going to be very skillful this month. Anything that has to do with languages, with writing, work with communicating with other people, this new moon supports that massively. Also, the third house, as I said, supports activities like trade, but with this special new moon, it will be very conducive for, let's say, online trade, because it falls into nakshatra ruled by Rahu, and Rahu is in your first house. So Sun and Rahu are going to be helping each other. It falls in the nakshatra of Swati, and Swati nakshatra is a the greatest possible nakshatra to disperse information, especially if you're doing that online or on TV, on radio, on internet. This is the perfect time to spread the word. It is something that may not start as a very stable project, because Swati nakshatra is not a stable nakshatra. Whatever is placed there has not found its roots yet. But on the other hand, it has a great potential to grow up into something permanent and structured, especially because apart from Rahu, who is in the first house, the other planet that rules this Libra new moon is Venus, who is in your fourth house together with Rahu, which means that it could be something that gives you guys a lot of personal stability, and something that will be a foundation for many years to come. It really is a possibility with this one. At the same time, Jupiter is in your second house in Virgo, in the nakshatra called Hasta. Hasta has this possibility to take what you want and place it in your hands. Okay, so if you have been developing any kind of creative project, any kind of revolutionary thing that has to do with any of these areas that I spoke about, this is the month to start. And if you're going to start in the first 14 months of November, before the full moon, which is going to come on the 14th. So the period to start is, let's say, from the 1st of November until the 13th of November. Now, let's see some specific things that this new moon is great to do. I already said online trade is highly supported. If you are working in a team, this can be a great time to cooperate, especially with long distance teams working together online. If you're gathering a new team, this would be a great month to gather a new online team. It's great to launch a website. If you want to have fun and are not afraid of losing your money, online gambling could be very attractive to you this month. Also, you will want to move. You will want to move a lot, because this is the nakshatra which supports movement, and there could be situations when you find yourself just wanting to roam around, go to bars, have fun with your friends, stuff like that. Why not? It's a good month for that. I already said it's a great new moon for marketing, sales, and PR. It is also a great new moon to start learning to play a musical instrument, especially if this is an instrument with strings like a guitar or a violin or a cello. Great month for that. Or if you're already playing one of those instruments, maybe now this will be the time to show what you know. Have a mini concert or performance or something like that. Is also great to taking a short trip with Swati. This can even be a short plane trip. It can also be great to start doing a sport or the sports which are supported by this nakshatra are anything that has to do with breath control exercises, especially in the third house. The third house also covers a part of your respiratory system and your nervous system. This moon can bring about a lot of nervousness. I already said that. And the trick to calm down the nervousness in the body is to learn how to control your breath, because it is practically impossible to breathe properly, to direct your breath, and to still be nervous. Not possible. Mind follows breath. You calm your breath, the mind will follow. So any pranayama exercises or enrolling a yoga class are going to be very beneficial this month. If you are more of a gym person, let's say, you could join a gym which has a lot of electronic equipment, some very modern place, or even start doing exercises, watching some classes on YouTube, or I don't know, some online tutorials on how to work from your home. Power plate exercises could be great with this kind of placement. Okay, I think I covered everything related to this new moon and Swati Nakshatra. So the planets which rule this new moon are Rahu and Venus, and Rahu is in your first house, as I've already explained at the beginning. So just do it. All those weird ideas that you have, if they are not harming anyone in the process, do them. This is the time to become entrepreneurial, the time to express your personal ideas. Go after something that you want, regardless of what others may think about it. And what others may think about it is very likely to be unsupportive with K2 in the 7th house. Maybe this is a time period when not even your family would support you. With the Saturn in the 4th house, there could be some issues there. So you are on your own, guys. One more thing that is possible with this, since Saturn in your fourth house is ruling the 7th house where K2 is transiting, and the 7th house, among other things, is the house of business. If you start an online business, it can grow something. It can grow into something with firm foundations, because Saturn is in your 4th house, and Saturn has been transiting your 4th house since November 2014. Now this is a long transit. Many of you guys were building new houses, changing apartments, having too much to do in the house, having troubles and issues to take care about with your family. Many of you guys were affected in one way or another. Your stability, your core happiness was affected. Now this could be the month where you, if you are prone to any of the activities that we talked about earlier, you become able to start something that will later become stable, bring you a sense of personal happiness and long-term stability. The 4th house can be a home-based business. Apart from the 3rd house, this Venus in the 4th also rules your 10th house, which is the house of a career. So it really is supportive of any home-based businesses. On the other hand, it doesn't even have to be a home-based business, because both Venus and Saturn from the 4th are looking at your 10th house. So if you are working for a company, it could be the time where you, let's say, get a brilliant idea which later on brings you prosperity in your career. If you're doing business with Ketu in the 7th house, you may not have a lot of clients initially. Swati has unstable beginnings, but again, this can really grow into something much more stable. Now, unless some of these transits activates planets which rule your romance and love houses, this month does not look like a great month for romance. Mars has been transiting your fifth house in the past 6 weeks, and fifth house rules our romantic relationships. Mars, in your case, rules house 4 and 9, so it can, apart from bringing the period where you put a lot of energy into your romantic relationships, it can bring fights and feeling of competitiveness with the people that you're dating. It can also bring some short-term flings with people from abroad or people from your past, somebody you have known, since like primary school or something like that. But with K2 in the 7th house, usually there is no long-term potential there unless you want to get involved in all those savior behaviors in your relationships, which I strongly do not recommend. For those rare people who have long-term relationships and are still able to be happy in them with this kind of transit, this can be a time period where you guys start discussing or even finalize moving in together, because the planet which rules your 7th house is now in the 4th house, which means a partner could move in when Venus joins. This could kind of seal the deal. But Mars is finishing this transit over your 5th house right after this new moon in Libra, and Mars is moving to the 6th house, Capricorn. And Mars in Capricorn becomes very stable, focused, directed, and patient to fulfill the task until the end. And also very competitive. This is the house where we do a lot of everyday work. This is the placement with Mars in Capricorn in the 6th house. You could be working tirelessly. With Mars ruling the 4th house, when it comes to the 6th, again, you could be working from home. But the negative side of this transit is that there may be no mental peace, right? There could be some arguments with your family, and this is one of those positions that can bring a lot of stress. But Mars is very determined energy, and you will be able to handle the stress, especially if it's in Capricorn. You're gonna do that patiently, focused, and until the end. Now, since Mars also rules your 9th house, it could be the time where suddenly in your everyday life, at your job, you are dealing with strangers, or if you are teaching, it can be especially hectic and busy period for you guys. Also, there will be a stellium of planets in Scorpio in your 4th house in November. Mercury is going to come to Scorpio on, let me just see the exact date, just a second, guys. Mercury is coming to Scorpio on the 9th of November, and the Sun is joining, Sun is changing signs. On the 16th of November, there will be a huge focus on your private life, happenings in the family. If you're working from home, there will be a lot of work to do from home. Also, all these planets will be looking at the 10th house of your career, so you can expect developments over there. And with Mars ruling this stellium of planets in the 4th house, from the 6th house, there can be a lot of really hectic energy about all of that, running around, trying to manage like 15 different things at the same time. Working. Bah. Not a very fun time, but hey, what can we do? Sometimes, not every time is a fun time. One more important thing is that Rahu in your first house is going to be crossing the point of eclipse in the first half of November. So again, if there were any developments at the beginning of September, if you have had any hints about your personal growth and development, what this 6-month cycle, or even longer, it can even be a longer cycle when it falls directly at one of the points in your chart, what it's going to be about, now will be the time when this starts to materialize. First half of November, and it's going to have to do with the new moon in your third house. Venus is going to move to your fifth house on the 7th of November, and normally Venus in the fifth house can be a lovely time because we are very romantic, we want to have fun with our partners, want to please them, want to be sweet with them, but this poor Venus is smashed by Saturn in the fourth and Mars in the sixth house, so it could be that you want to do some of those things. You want to go dating. If you're already dating, you want to have fun with your partner, but it might be that this is not so possible because of all the work that you have to do. You just won't have time for something like that. If you have any creative ideas, they're going to be very challenged at this period of time. You will feel very creative and you will want to do something creative with Venus in the fifth house. That can even bring you money because Jupiter, who is ruling this Venus, is now in your second house of money. And I already said this is a Hasta Nakshatra, which can place what you want in your hands. But there's so much repetitive work that you will have to do around this to secure your foundations at this moment that you won't really have enough time to enjoy this. If you have or if you're prone to any problems with stomach, watch during November with this placement of Venus, because you might be prone to be overindulgent. Let's say eat too many sweets, for example, or trying to compensate for the lack of enjoyment that you have to go through now in order to maintain and secure something that you need for the basis of your life. And then if you go try to compensate that with, let's say, food, too many sweets, there could be issues with your stomach and your digestion with this kind of smashed Venus in the fifth house. For you guys who have children, there could be possible issues with them with this kind of placement of Venus in the fifth. So it would be good for them to watch their health a little bit in this period, because Venus in your chart rules 10th house, which is the 6th to the 5th. When it comes to the 5th house, it can bring some kind of disease to children, and it also rules the 12th house from your children's house, which is now full. 12 from the 5th is the 4th, which is full. So I would watch for some kind of throat problems, or they could catch cold at the least. The children would need to take care of their health, or if they're too small, you need to take care of their health at this period, if you don't want this Mars in the 6th house to place you in the doctor's room among all other things that he's gonna do. Now, as we said, the time to plant new seeds and start new projects is the first 13 days of November. After that, on the 14th, we are having a full moon in Aries, which falls in your 9th house, and the Mars, who is ruling this new moon is in Aries, is going to be in the 6th house. This can bring some stress. If for example, you are a student, there could be some stressful exams now. There could even be fights with your teachers because this full moon is falling in the nakshatra of Kritika, and Kritika is not a very diplomatic nakshatra. With this kind of position, there could even be some arguments with your father or, well, with anyone around you actually about your belief systems. With K2 in the 7th, people will not support anything that you're talking or doing right now, right? So not even your belief systems. Don't waste your energy there. It might be that you have to travel for work at this time because the full moon in the 9th is ruled by the Mars in the 6th, so it could be something like that. If you guys are in the publishing industry, you may publish something with this. That would be good. You might be giving a speech or giving a lecture with this kind of position. It is good for people who are in a counseling industry because the 9th house, which rules counseling, now has its lord in the 6th house of service. So if you really want to give a good advice, yes, it can be stressful, yes, it can be overwhelming, but with the Mars in the 6th house, you will have the power and strength to do that. Okay, now, 46 minutes, Jesus. But okay, this was an important month for you guys because Rahu is transiting the eclipse point in your 1st house. You are having the new moon in the 3rd house, which is very related to this Rahu because Rahu partially rules it. So that's the reason why this video was so long. I hope you had the patience to to listen to it till the end. If not, I will totally understand it. Since this is the first series of videos that I am putting out there for you guys, I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you find it useful and will make the most out of the energies on your disposal in November. Our next lunation is, let me just choose the exact date, November the 29th. This is the start of the next lunar cycle. I will see you guys before that, so that we can see what kind of energies you can expect in December and how to best navigate through them. Until then, make the most out of your November, have fun while you're doing that. I wish you the most luck with any brilliant ideas that you may have. The world needs your revolutionary mind at the moment. Thank you for watching, and I'm wishing you all the best. Bye bye.